Tonight we're pulling back the velvet curtain on the royal family because something is breaking inside the House of Windsor and almost no one is talking about the two people caught right in the middle of it. By the end of this video, you'll know why Princess Beatrice and Princess Eugenie are suddenly the most vulnerable royals in Britain, what King Charles is really trying to protect, and the brutal choice these two sisters may be forced to make: save their parents or save themselves. And if you follow royal drama, you already know, once the crown makes its move, loyalty doesn't always survive. Let's get into it. Welcome to Royals Explored, your home for real royal breakdowns, not PR fluff. If you want to understand what's actually happening behind palace walls, hit subscribe right now so you don't miss the next chapter, because this situation is unraveling fast. Here's what set all of this off. After years of scandal swirling around Prince Andrew, his links to Jeffrey Epstein, the lawsuits, the settlements, the public outrage, the monarchy has finally stopped shielding him. Last week, Andrew and Sarah Ferguson were pushed into a humiliating climb down. The Duke and Duchess of York image, the one they've held on to for decades, is collapsing. Behind the scenes, the pressure on them to step back, give up privileges, and even leave their longtime home, Royal Lodge, has become impossible to ignore. That's a 30-room royal property, not a cottage, not a grace and favor guest house, a real symbol of status. And now there are reports that they could be forced out of it. That is not just a housing issue, that is the crown saying, your era is over. And caught in the middle of it all, their daughters. Beatrice, 37. Eugenie, 35. Grown women, mothers, respected inside the family. And yet right now they're being dragged back into their parents' decades-old choices. Royal commentator Jenny Bond said it straight. These two were brought up beautifully. They're close, they're loyal, but there are questions they can't ignore anymore. Why did their parents stay connected to Jeffrey Epstein for so long? Why did they keep showing up around him even after his conviction? Why did their mother reportedly take them to see him in New York when he was out of prison? And why, all these years later, are they the ones paying the reputational price? Imagine being Beatrice, looking back at your own 18th birthday party and realizing Epstein was there. And 8 days later, he was arrested. 8 days later. How do you process that? How do you go from happy royal teen to adult woman realizing that the guest list at your own party is now international scandal material? And then there's the New York trip. Reports suggest Sarah Ferguson took both her daughters to see Epstein once he was released. There's even an email from Epstein claiming they came to celebrate his release. Sarah says she can't remember it. Maybe she can't. Maybe it's been. But if you're Beatrice or Eugenie and you're suddenly reading that in the press, how does that not shatter your trust? How do you not say, Mom, why were we even there? Because let's be real, this isn't just tabloid drama. This is about two princesses finding out, in public, that their parents might have exposed them to someone the entire world now knows as dangerous. That is trauma. That is embarrassment. That is a stain that doesn't wash out easily, especially not when your last name is Windsor. Now, here's where the story gets even colder. Beatrice and Eugenie still have something their parents don't: goodwill. People like them. King Charles likes them. Prince William, despite everything with Andrew, is said to be fond of his cousins. They get invited to Christmas. They get invited to major family events. They are included. But Andrew and Sarah? That door is closing. Maybe not officially. Maybe not in a press release. But quietly. Politely. Firmly. So now ask yourself, what does that feel like for the daughters? The palace invites them but not their parents. The king says, you're welcome, but the people who raised them are frozen out. That puts them in an impossible position. Do they go and look like they've abandoned their mom and dad when things are at their worst? Or do they stay away to stand by their parents and slowly slide out of royal relevance? That is the real crisis here. Not the titles. Not the house. It's two daughters being forced to choose between blood and survival. Jenny Bond even said it. They're conflicted. They love their parents, that's obvious. But they also live in 2025. They know brand matters. Optics matter. Association matters. You cannot be the fresh young face of the monarchy while your father is still the headline for the worst royal scandal in modern history. And that brings us to the part nobody in the palace wants to admit. For years, there was talk that Beatrice and Eugenie could become working royals. That as the family slimmed down, the York girls could step up, do more charity work, take on engagements, help take pressure off William and Catherine. That was the plan. That door is now almost fully shut. Not because of who they are, but because of who their parents are. The association is toxic. The monarchy is trying to look forward, modern, ethical, accountable. How can they do that while elevating the daughters of the one prince whose scandal still casts a shadow over the entire institution? It's brutal, but it's true. The crown protects itself first. And speaking of protection, have you noticed how quiet Beatrice and Eugenie have been lately? According to reports, they were expected at a high-profile charity event and didn't go. That is not laziness. That is strategy. That is lie low until the storm passes. They are protecting their husbands. They are protecting their children. They are protecting their future invitations. Because again, this is the part viewers at home sometimes forget. Royals live in a permanent PR war. One bad photo, one wrong appearance, one picture with the wrong person, and suddenly the Daily Mail, the Telegraph, the Sun, and every royal podcast is saying, why are they still being invited? So yes, they're staying off the radar. They have to. But it comes at a price. Because staying off the radar also means staying off the path to power. And for two women who grew up as the other granddaughters of the Queen, that must sting. Now, let's zoom out. Why does this whole story matter? Because Beatrice and Eugenie are a perfect example of something that is happening to the whole royal machine. The old system of we protect our own no matter what is dying and being replaced by we protect the crown, and if family gets sacrificed, so be it. In the old world, Andrew would have been hidden. In the old world, Sarah would have been quietly covered for. In the old world, the York girls would have been promoted, married off royally, and given patronages. In 2025? No. The public is watching. The media has receipts. Epstein's name is Googleable. And King Charles knows one thing. He cannot let one branch of the family poison the entire tree. Which brings us to the real tension of this video. Will Beatrice and Eugenie ever be able to escape their father's scandal? Or will they be defined by it for the rest of their lives? Because right now they have three options, none of them easy. Option 1. Publicly distance themselves from Andrew and Sarah. That would help their image instantly. Royal watchers would support